Tonight on CTV News, Christchurch parents on edge after a threatening letter sent to families, class action on the cards for angry insurance policyholders, and the bus exchange headache that won't go away for drivers.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening and welcome to CTV News, now streaming live every night on ctv.co.nz. And we begin with a scary situation happening right now. Parents in the Sumner area are being asked to be extremely vigilant after two families were sent letters demanding cash and threatening to harm their children.
Police say there is no evidence that threats made to harm children and extort money from two Mount Pleasant school parents are genuine. But police are continuing to investigate following the demands made to the families in anonymous letters last week. A team of detectives have been working to identify the source, but say it's too early to speculate who may have sent them. However, all parents of the school students have been told of the threats and are being asked to be mindful if any other further threats are made. Police have increased patrols in the area and placed additional security for the families affected. Sumner School also sent out a parent alert this morning, asking parents to take extra precaution with their children getting to and from school and playing unsupervised. However, Canterbury Police urge anyone who received any similar letters or has any information about this matter to come forward.
And we'll bring you more on that story as it develops tonight. Well, scene examinations are continuing following the death of a man and a horse after they collided last night on Yoldhurst Road. The man hit the unmanned horse while riding his motorcycle near the intersection of Pound Road just before 9. Both died at the scene. Police say there was another unattended horse at the scene. Now, the accident was close to where another horse was hit by a motorist earlier this year. Well, they're getting close to their target, but they still want more. The class action against Southern Response has so far had over 200 people to take up the offer to take on the insurer, and people have just a few weeks left to get involved. Our reporter Jared McCulloch was at last night's meeting.
It's the last chance for many Christchurch residents still waiting on a solution for their earthquake-damaged properties. Well over 200 frustrated Southern Response policyholders turned out for a private meeting at the Cardboard Cathedral last night to consider whether to join a class action against the insurer. And the lawyer in charge, Grant Cameron, says he's pleased with the turnout.
Very, very good. Exactly what we expected. People, I think, are highly motivated and very, very keen to get cracking. So couldn't have gone better.
The hour-long meeting saw Cameron explain alongside lawyer Francis Cook QC to talk about the process of a litigation team who will fund the case and how a class action works. A no-win, no-fee basis means just that. If the class action is unsuccessful in court, claimants wouldn't have to pay any damages and legal costs. That's covered under the litigation team. But if the action is successful, claimants would pay fees of no more than 20% of the claim, with some paying a lot less. A number of claim holders with the government-owned insurer have already signed up. Last night that number was sitting just below 200 to try and fight the insurer in getting a fair deal to either repair or rebuild their home. Now that number has jumped around another 15 claimants.
The phones have been running red hot. We are very, very pleased with how it's going. We're very confident that we'll have the full response by the end of the month, and we're all set ready to proceed with filing proceedings.
When contacted today, Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee didn't want to comment on last night's meeting, but Cameron says they didn't believe the Crown should be worried.
The government has done the right thing from day one. It stepped in and said, look, policyholders will not be left out of pocket. We can't have a crisis of confidence in the insurance industry. So the government is supporting this. So they will watch with interest. They don't anticipate at this stage that the class action will become huge. Therefore, the monetary sort of impact may not be that great for the government.
However, he believes the meeting will help other confused and distraught homeowners to make a decision.
Well, I think they've been very concerned that perhaps the information coming from the insurer hasn't been accurate and that there is a need to get independent expert advice. That leads to cost problems, and of course a lot of them can't face that, and part of the benefit of joining the class action is to get those expert reports paid for, and then the litigation itself, will it bring this to a head? And I think most people went away tonight believing yes, it will bring it to a head.
It was interesting, yes. Do I think it's for me? I don't know. I'll have to make that decision.
Really good
good that we've got more information so that we can go through it all and see whether it will suit us. I do think it would depend largely on where your DRA is sitting, relevant to where you think you should be sitting, so that would affect my decision.
I've already made up my mind before I come here, mate, but this has even made me even more.
Hopefully we'll get a few more.
Get a few more. I hope it goes ahead.
I think that we'll hopefully benefit from it if we decide to join. We haven't 100% made up our mind. Certainly got plenty of information to go away and think about, and got 2 weeks, so no pressure.
I thought it was very good, and I think it's about time that people took a stand instead of just being trodden all over. It's gone on for too long now, and why shouldn't we have what we're due? It's only right, it's only fair.
I think that a lot of people are really living pretty much in the dark. They don't actually understand the process, and until they're able to come to a meeting like this or sit down with the lawyers, they don't really grasp what it's all about.
Claimants will only have until the end of the month to decide whether or not they want to sign up. A hope for many to move on and waiting on a resolution. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And CTV News will follow this story right to the very end. Well, what option to choose? Public consultation begins tonight on how to prevent further flooding at the Flockton Basin. But what are the options? What options is best and just how much will cost? CTV breaks down those details.
It's the second round of public consultation for the flood-affected Flockton Basin residents, with the first meeting taking place tonight. It's been an ongoing issue for many residents in the area, with substantial rain causing a number of problems since the earthquakes. Now time is ticking for homeowners wanting to voice their opinion on the latest design options to filter away their flood fears for good.
We've done one round and now we've got a lot more detail, so we're going out with a detailed on 3 options and looking forward to what the community's perceptions and preferences are over those 3 options.
But in December last year, the Christchurch City Councillors were informed about the first round of consultation with options A and B. However, the elected members wanted more details on the downstream works, requiring another round of public opinion. Now, 6 months later, the options for both A and B have been tweaked, with option C being a new design for consultation. And Adamson believes it will solve this problem for years to come.
There's anxiety of the people in there every time it rains, and we are looking for a solution, a long-term solution to help those people in Dudley Creek. So yes, we're quite confident that technically we'll get the right people on there to design a long-term solution. We've got to take into account a number of things, including climate change, obviously, and so we are looking at whatever we put in there has got a life of 50, 100 years.
So here are the 3 options for public consultation. Option A would see piping work being laid east of Warden Street before bypassing through Shirley Intermediate School and entering Dudley Creek near Banks Avenue, coming in at a cost between $28 and $33 million. Option B starts off similar, but the pipes will cross North Parade and through Richmond Park, the residential red zone, and into the Avon River. A price tag of between $29 and $36 million. However, this design has an alternative route where the red dotted line is more expensive, $32 to $39 million. And now the new choice on the table is option C, travelling down Dudley Creek from Warden Street before being piped down Petrie, Randall and Midway Street into the Avon. The cost, $26 to $31 million.
Each one of them has strengths, each one of them has weaknesses. It's not quite a clear cut, this option's better than others, and that's why we're consulting on the whole 3 of them.
But it's likely consultation won't start until the end of the year.
And obviously it's a lot easier to construct during summer than it is during winter. We've got longer days and we've got better conditions to work on, so we are hoping that construction will start over this, and we've certainly got in place contractors and consultants ready to go as soon as we make the decision on which option we're going to press the button on.
So now it's up to the public to consider the options.
So I'm hoping that people engage well in it. I hope that they fill in those comments really, because I think it's, just ticking an option I suppose tells us what their preference is, but it's really the reason behind those preferences that we would like to try and flesh out in this consultation so we can then take it in, because I don't actually think there's one option that's necessarily stands out head and shoulders above any of the others.
The first community drop-in session will be held tonight at the Delta Community Support Trust building from 6 p.m, with 2 more meetings being held next week. Consultation concludes on the 8th of July. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
Bus drivers are complaining in their droves about the problematic design of the new bus exchange, with the union saying it's just a matter of time before somebody is killed.
ECAN says the new bus interchange is working well, despite multiple bus crashes and daily complaints made by bus drivers to their union. Since opening less than a month ago, there's been 13 bus crashes at the interchange, mainly due to blind spots when reversing out of the bus bays. The Amalgamated Workers Union says it's fielding complaints from bus drivers every day, and it's getting worse. The union was opposed to Sarah's $53 million anchor project's design from the start, and many people have since complained about its safety oversights. While ECAN says the crashes are due to drivers not checking their rear vision mirrors, the union says sunstrike and blind spots are still a problem. The union says many of the drivers' complaints are also about the interchange's automation flaws. With the system being rolled out in a tight time frame, it is now causing safety problems. This despite Red Bus rolling out a 3D training module for drivers last month to help reversing concerns.
That was principally to alleviate the fears of the bus drivers about entering from Chewham Street and Litchfield Street and using the bays and reversing and getting used to the doors. And so we've helped the acceptance and the operation of the bus drivers into using the Christchurch bus interchange.
However, ECAN says with more than 860 buses being used in the interchange each day, that's around 18,000 bus movements in the last month. The 13 crashes since then have caused about $5,000 worth of damage, including rear panel damage, a broken window and a broken rear vision mirror. But the union says it's just a matter of time before someone gets hit or worse, gets killed, and is now considering its next move.
And still to come here on CTV News, broadcasting at ctv.co.nz, a mystery house in Travers Country upsets locals. And welcome back to CTV News. A prefab house quietly transported at night into a Burwood subdivision has neighbours absolutely outraged. But what is all the fuss actually about? Chelsea Daniels has the latest.
Should this house be here? Travers Country residents are not happy about a refurbished house that arrived in the neighbourhood last week. And the section is expecting another house, an 85-year-old villa, to also be put on the site tonight.
I went up to one of the workers and said, who's the boss here? And they pointed out to the guy, and the guy came over and I said, what's going on here? And he said, we're putting this house here, and another one's coming in a few days, and we'll be putting the foundations down shortly.
Residents are angry about being left in the dark about the project and are seeking answers from the council.
I would ask them, why is it that for a relocatable, which is a building, should not have to come to agreement with the adjacent owners to say, yes, we approve of this, or no, we do not approve of this happening. And the council has to take that on board. But in this case, they say, no, they don't have to. Well, I totally disagree. It's a letdown for the people in the subdivision, because everybody bought in here and built in expectation that, okay, you might get a capital gain, but you may not too. But at least people had pride in their properties, looked after the place, and say if it wasn't for the earthquake, the subdivision would still just be happily going on. But to have this sort of thing happen, if they let it go, it set a precedent. There's a big empty section over there. What can happen to that? You could fit 8 of these on that section there. What would you do? If you've got no redress to the council now, what's it going to be like in the future for any other subdivision in Christchurch?
Residents want the same rules to be applied across the board, with the new house visibly not meeting the standards that they first had to abide by. Neighbour Richie Parker says it's not fair for the homeowners of the suburb, who have all had to abide by the same building codes.
The main concern for me is when we purchased a section here and built in '97, that there were certain covenants and restrictions on the entire subdivision, and they were put there to ensure all the houses in here were of a similar quality and standard, and to protect everybody's investment in here for the future. So I don't know how many houses are in here, whether it's 380 or 640, but all of those houses have had to abide by those covenants, as we have, and made sacrifices for it.
Councillor David East says the council will be looking into the matter.
I've just come down for a look at the problem here, and for me it really just comes down to having a check on a few issues. There's the covenant issue that exists in all of the properties, I believe, in the Travis country area, and then there's also just a quick look at whether the building consent is totally compliant, and the resource management application, if there is one, what are the applications that are associated with the building, whether local people have been consulted or needed to be consulted. So I'm not too sure of all the processes that have or should be applied to this application, but I'm happy to go and have a look and just check out where they sit and if there's any inconsistencies that need to be addressed.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
And some information we need to tell you about that's just come into our newsroom from a statement from the council, who won't comment verbally on this issue. An enforcement officer went to that property today and is in the process of issuing a notice to fix to stop any further works until a building consent has been issued. And we'll continue to follow that story with great interest here at CTV News. Well, to other news now. It's a serious issue, but a local organisation supporting abused men is taking it one step further to help those in need in Africa and Cambodia. Jared McCulloch reports.
It's a difficult topic to talk about in society, males both young and old being affected by abuse. It's a problem here in Canterbury, but even more so overseas, and the chairman of the Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse Trust is wanting to help out. Colin Elliott has recently come back from Cambodia to attend a biannual conference there to discuss the awareness of this type of abuse from around the world. Now he wants to get some funds together from the public to help keep communication ties through victims strong.
There's 500,000 people in refugee camps in Cambodia, and it's really hard to help them stay in touch with each other.
So he's wanting to raise around $10,000 to give to the support group over in Cambodia, which he says will hopefully provide 20 computers.
Keeping in touch makes them safer, because if the world knows about their plight, then it's harder for the government to do some of the things they're doing.
The first ever conference was held in Uganda back in 2013, with around 10 countries turning up for the talks. Now, in 2015, that number has well more than doubled to 36, all to help with growing awareness of the problem.
Nobody wants to talk about men and boys, everybody wants to talk about women and girls, and the research in Uganda and Cambodia says that slightly more men and boys are sexually abused than women, but 90% of the funding goes towards women and girls.
So he started up his own personal idea to raise the money to get the victims talking. Elliott says $10,000 would be enough to provide the computers and would work well with internet usage there, as they have good connections. Now he hopes the social kind will help.
I think it's because the boys are less protected, because the girls are chaperoned almost everywhere they go, so the boys are out more on their own and doing things.
Elliott is hoping to start up a Give a Little page soon to begin fundraising, and now they're preparing themselves for the next meeting in 2017, which they'll be hosting here in Christchurch. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And you're watching CTV News streaming live on the 5 p.m. bulletin at ctv.co.nz. Well, there's been so much talk about whether or not the snow is actually going to arrive, so will it? Jared returns with your regional forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. This is a very important next story. Do you take full advantage of your life? Cantab Andrew Fleming has faced incredible odds, and he has a message for all. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Well, he has overcome the unthinkable and has set his sights on helping others to find solutions to those challenges in life that seem impossible. Andrew Fleming's life changed when a seemingly mundane daily task went horribly wrong.
In October 2000, I made a decision to go up a steep hill rather than going around the track, because it saved me having to open 6 gates, and I flipped my quad motorbike while I was riding up the steep spur, and that broke my back, left me lying in the paddock for 6 hours until someone found me, so it was a very scary day.
Andrew lay in the paddock for 6 hours before his dog's barking got the attention of a neighbour.
Moss just barked at everything she heard all day, and when the guy found, he happened to stop to fix the leaking water trough and switched his motorbike off, and he heard Moss barking, and he thought, that dog doesn't normally sound like that, what's wrong? And he started looking around and he spotted me. So my dog saved my life, man's best friend, as they say.
He urges people to take advantage of their lives and stresses how drastically your life can change only in an instant.
We've all had those moments, whether it be in a car or on a motorbike or something, where something goes a little bit wrong and our heart beats flat out and we think, oh my God, we got away with that. Oh, that was lucky. Think about those moments, because my moment like that, I didn't get away with it, and it's affected my life for 15 years now.
In his book, Change the Channel, Andrew talks about the day-to-day challenges he faces from life in a wheelchair.
I used to look at people in wheelchairs and think, how hard is it not to be able to walk? Really, I had no idea. And when people started asking me to speak about what I'd been doing, I really had a desire to get people to understand how challenging some of this stuff could be.
He encourages people to take care of their life, emphasises how precious it is, and warns not to take those unnecessary risks.
There's a lot of fun aspects to farming, and this particular day I should have really gone around the track and opened 6 gates, and it's a hassle opening gates on a bike. You've got to get off them all the time, and I thought, if I shoot up there, I'll be home quicker, it'll be a bit of fun, because I was a bit of an adrenaline junkie. And I think the difference was that the wind coming across the hill that day, after I went over a sheep rut, just picked the bike up. So there's unexpected things. Just think about what you're doing. Do you have to go that way, or is there a better way that won't put yourself in as much danger?
But with his hardships aside, Andrew is grateful for the experience, always being able to turn a negative into a positive.
A funny thing is that I would like to be able to walk and all those sorts of things. In lots of ways, I wouldn't do without the things that I have learned due to that adversity. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword like that.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Astronomy staff. Now time for the region's weather.
Good evening, Canterbury. Well, it was a mainly fine day today with some light winds here and there, but they're going to change gustily later on tonight with some northerly winds. But let's take a look at today's highs first. 10 degrees for Timaru and Temuka today, 11 for Waimate, the warmest place in South Canterbury. Further north now, Ashburton and Christchurch both shared 12 degrees today. Leaston, you're on 10 degrees, sharing that with Akaroa, and just 9 degrees for Methven. Take a look now into North Canterbury. Coastal areas saw 13 degrees from Rangiora up to Kai Calder, and then further inland 12 degrees here, Hampton Springs, Oxford and Culverden. As we take a look into the Alpine regions for today, the warmest place here was Mount Cook. Right, tomorrow's weather now, it's going to change up a lot, but we'll start with Timaru, shall we? A few showers throughout the day and southerly winds. You will start off the day on 2 degrees and a high of 12 tomorrow. Flipping over now to Ashburton for tomorrow. Slightly warmer than Timaru for tomorrow, only slightly though. 3 degrees will start your day and 13 will be your high. As for Christchurch, you will see some sunny skies here and there throughout the day, but there will be some showers as well. Southwesterly winds and a high of 13. And Kai Calder, those winds will change slightly to southeasterly winds, but you'll get a warm day out of this for the main centres on 15 degrees. Tomorrow's temperatures now for the rest of the region, starting with South Canterbury. Showery skies indeed. Twice we'll see some snowy skies here and there with northwesterly winds. But as we go into mid-Canterbury, they'll see southerly winds all the way through. 13 degrees for both Leaston and Akaroa, but there will be some heavy showers in Methven on 11 degrees. Taking a look into North Canterbury now, showery skies for mainly the top part of this area, a mixture of 15 and 14 degrees, southerly winds coming right round here and northwesterlies everywhere else, and showers and snow skies here for the Alpine region. Now the upcoming days for the major centres, bit of a mixed bag here and there as well. Timaru will see some cloudy skies here and there on 13 also for Ashburton and Christchurch. Kai Calder slightly warmer on 14, but when we flip to Saturday, southwesterly winds for most for Timaru, Ashburton and Christchurch. Kai Calder, showery skies for you with some southerly winds and a high of 8. For the rest of the region now for Friday, mixed bag here as well, some cloudy skies and showers, but there'll be northwesterly winds all the way through with some showery skies more and more up into North Canterbury. But when we flip over to Saturday, those winds will change southwesterly with some showery skies here and there as well, and even more so as we get to further north into North Canterbury. So I'm calling it for a umbrella and jacket day tomorrow, so make sure we wrap up warm as well. So there's your weather for Wednesday.
Another cold one on the way, and that is CTV News for Wednesday. Have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.